Let's do this first. So this is, it's not section anything, right? It's review, oops, daisy. Let's go change this thing around. Let's change this. And let's call this review test. And it's section, what, 2.1 to 2.4, right? Alright, number 12 you said? Alright. 1 and 2. Alright. Couple, well, let's do one more. We might have time to do one more. Anything? 17? Alright. So here we go. Let's do 1. 4z minus 4 plus 7 z plus 1 equals 6z plus 7. Okay, I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, alright? This is straightforward Algebra 1 kind of stuff. So let's do it. First, I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at simplifying this. So my first step is just distributing this 7 through here. So I've got 4z minus 4 plus 7z plus 7. There's my distributing. Then there's nothing to simplify on this side. First thing I always do is simplify both sides first. The right side's already simplified, but I got to do that to the left side. So we simplify this by 4z plus 7z is 11z. Negative 4 plus 7 is plus 3. And then the right side is already simplified. Okay, get the z's on the same side, so I subtract a 6z from both sides. And while I'm at it, in the same step, let's get rid of this 3. Put that on the right side. So I got the letters, so I got the variable on the left side, I got my constants on the right side. So that cancels and that cancels. 11z minus 6z is 5z. And this is 4. 7 minus 3 is 4. Divide both sides by 5, and that's your answer right there. Z is 4/5. Simple as that. Alright, so that's number 1. Let's do number 2. Let's go different color here. Okay, z plus 7 over 3 equals z minus 2 over 4. First thing we want to do is we want to get rid of these denominators right here. Alright, there's a couple ways you could do it, but this is the way I would do it. I would get rid of this 3. It's being divided by 3, so how do you get rid of it? You multiply by 3, right? So you multiply this side by 3.
I multiply by 12.
You could do that. It's the same exact thing. I was thinking about doing that. Let's do that. Okay? Remember, we talked about this yesterday. We said we're going to find a common denominator, and we're going to we can get rid of our denominators by multiplying by a common denominator. So if you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. It's really exactly the same thing as what I was going to do before, but I think this might make more sense. So our common denominator would be 12, so I multiply everything by 12. Why did I do that? So that the 3 cancels out with the 12 and the 4 cancels out with the 12. That's why I picked a common denominator, because 3 divides into it evenly and 4 divides into it evenly. So 3 goes into this 4 times, 4 goes into this 3 times. And now look at this 4. See what I just did right there? I put parentheses around this because this 4 is being multiplied by this whole entire numerator. So I got to put that whole thing in parentheses to remind me to distribute the 4 through here. If I didn't put it there, I'd probably forget to distribute it through the whole thing, and I got to make sure that I do that. So I would get 4z plus 28. Over here, 4 goes into 12 3 times. That 3 is also being distributed by everything in this parentheses. So that's 3z minus 6. Subtract 3z from both sides. We can do that in our head. That's just z. Subtract a 28 from both sides, and that's what? Negative 34? Is that right? Is that the answer I gave you? Good. It's always nice when I get the answer that I gave to you, isn't it? All right. That wasn't too hard. 12 and 17. Let's go yellow this time. Let's do 12. 1 minus 4i over 5 minus 9i. Okay, well, we have an I and we have it in the denominator, so that's the reason why this is not simplified, because it tells you to simplify this thing. So it's not simplified because we have an I in the denominator, and an I is a square root, isn't it? It's a square root of negative 1. So I cannot have a square root in the denominator, so I have to get rid of it. Well, we have a little method, don't we, to get rid of that I. Now, I don't just multiply by an I. It's not going to help us.
5 plus 9.
Right, and what do we call that thing when I multiply by 5 plus 9i? I call that the what? Starts with a C. Conjugate, right. It's the conjugate of this. And that way, and we've talked about the whys of, why this works. I'm not going to go through that. We're just going to go through the process right now. All right. Let's go back to yellow now. Now, I always like to multiply the bottom, because remember, the conjugate is basically a difference of two squares. So all I got to do is multiply the first and the last, because the outside and inside will add up to 0. Okay. So let's multiply the first. 5 times 5 is 25. Negative times positive will always be a negative. 9 times 9 is 81, right? But I times I is I squared. What's I squared equal to? -1. So what's it going to do to this? It's going to make it a plus, isn't it? I did a little bit in my head right there. If you need to write the step down, go ahead and do that. But I explained it to you, so I think it's a little bit easier doing it that way. Now let's do the top. Now this is not a difference of two squares kind of a thing. We have to do the whole entire FOIL method. So let's do the first, which is 5. Let's do the outside, which is positive 9i. Let's do the inside, which is negative 20i. And let's do the last, which is negative 36i squared. But again, that I squared is -1. That makes this negative into a positive. Alright, so I did that kind of quick, so let's make sure you follow on that. Let's do this right here. I always do the reals first, don't I? So 5 plus 36 is 41 minus, and that's what, 11i over, and what's that, 106? Is that right? 106. None of these simplify, so we just keep it like that, and that's our answer. Pretty good, huh? What was the other one? 20, 17? What was it? I forget what it was. 17? Is that right? Okay. Do we have time? I don't know if we'll have time to do this. Let's see how hard this one is. 17. Oh, it's one like we had on the quiz, isn't it? Well, it's a completing the square. Are we going to have enough time? If I do it quick, maybe. So you had a problem that looks kind of like this on the quiz, didn't you? First thing you do when you complete the square is you don't want this 3 right here, so you have to get rid of the 3 and you divide everything by 3. Did we do this problem before? Seems like we've done this exact one before, doesn't it? Yep. So this is x squared plus 16 over 3x plus blank equals 0. Well, actually, I'm not going to put equals 0. This is going to be a 2, and we move it to the other side. It's going to be a -2. Take half of this and square it. We don't have time. Bell rang. We'll do this on Monday. Remind me to do that, okay? On Monday. I'll tell you what. As you're walking out, I'll just do it. So if you want to look at the video, then you can watch me do it. Okay?
Will the following students please come to the office? Bryce Persinger, Zakir Washington, Melly Smith, and Jordan Badson. If you could please come to the office.
All right. See you guys. Have a good weekend. Find a common denominator. 1 times 9 is -18 plus 64. This is a perfect square. X plus 8 over 3 equals, let's see, 20 would be 44, 46. 46 over 9. Yep. Square roots. Subtracting 8 thirds. 8 thirds plus or minus the square root of 46 over 3. There it is.